Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today we're going to discuss what is potentially the most frequent question I get from viewers and people I meet outside of the YouTube world, people I meet as I travel around the country as a professional angler. And it simply is, how do you become a professional angler and what's the easiest way to make a career out of professional fishing? And I gotta tell you, there is no easy way. I mean, the reality of it is it's a job just like pretty much any other job out there. If you want to do well, you can do well, but you gotta put in the time and the effort. You cannot half-ass it, as they say. One thing that I have found personally is that if you try to work multiple jobs, you're not going to give your all to fishing. You might do well enough to spin your wheels and to do okay, but you're probably not going to reach the pinnacle of fishing for whatever that is within your own career. One person's pinnacle is different than another person's pinnacle because it really comes down to goals. Some people out there, their goal is to win every tournament. Other people's goals are to represent companies and make a living through that means, which helps them fish some tournaments. The reality of it is you got to be willing to work hard. In my case, I started out my first 3 years as a professional angler fishing at the professional tournament scene on the FLW tour. I was working a full-time job in the financial world, and I was using every vacation day I had to pursue a fishing career. And it didn't work for me. I would spend all my time when I was home working to try to get caught up on work to allow me to leave for a week and go fish a tournament. Then I would get to the tournament, try to swap completely over to being in tournament mode. Then I get back and I'd have to get caught up on work. And I just felt like it was not working for either job. I knew that if I wanted to succeed at either position, I had to continue to give it my all. So I ended up doing the smart thing. I gave up the perfect, fantastic financial career that I had for pretty much nothing at the time. I didn't have any sponsor support. I didn't have anything other than, a mediocre tournament record at that point. My first 3 years, I finished in the middle of the pack. Since that time, I've continuously cashed checks, made championships, and had a much better career. And I truly believe that's because I'm able to focus on this career versus the old career. So I give you that as just background. You can't you can't do it half-assed. You have to fully commit. If you want to make fishing a career, it's already a hard enough industry to get into, but if you want to make it a career, you can do that. You just have to work hard. So what I want to do today is I want to provide you with different means anglers make careers in the fishing industry. It doesn't have to be through tournaments. It doesn't have to be through sponsors. There's a lot of different means. So I'll kind of walk you through it. I think the most successful anglers out there have their hands in all of these. They're making a little bit of money here, a little bit of money here, a little bit of money here. And when everything is combined, they're making very good livings based on the fishing world. But it's much harder to concentrate on just one of these areas and make a good living doing it. You kind of got to dabble into everything, but the reality of it is all of these things play together. It's not like, if you do social media and you want to be a content creator, that can help all these other areas. If you want to be a great tournament angler, that can help your social media in all these other areas. So the point of it is, you got to view it as a business. You got to look at how things feed off each other and how you can utilize one platform to propel another platform to a higher level. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'll use myself as some examples to show you how, I'm making some money in different means. The reality of it is, if you want to make a career in the fishing, you got to work your butt off to do it. Now, the first and foremost, the easiest answer here to make a career in the fishing world would be to get a job within a fishing related company. If that's just what you're looking to do, is be in the fishing industry, that's one of the best, most stable ways to go about it. Now, I can't say I've done that per se, so I don't know how easy it is to get a job with some of the larger fishing companies. But that is a great way just to get your foot in the door. If you just want to be around the tournament world and the fishing world, working with a company is a great way to do it. Now, if you want to be a professional angler and you want to fish all the time, working for a company is probably not going to be the best way to do it. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. For myself, look at fishing tournaments. I've fished professional level tournaments now. This is going to be my 14th, 13th, or 14th year doing it. It is not as lucrative as it used to be, meaning the expenses have gone up, the entry fees have gone up, and the payouts have stayed the same or dropped some. So therefore, when I first got into it, you could have a better risk reward ratio. That has since shrunk, but there's still money to be made if you are a very good tournament fisherman. Meaning, my entry fees this year are going to be $30,000. If you cash a $10,000 check in all 6 events, you made $30,000. You make your winnings are $60,000. Now that's easier said than done, but it is doable, and a lot of anglers out there will make $60,000 or more fishing. Now that's just one facet of it. If you're doing well as a tournament angler, most tournament anglers try to secure sponsorship dollars to help pay for their expenses. And in an ideal world, you secure enough sponsor dollars where you're already ahead by the time you go into your tournament fishing. Uh, Meaning if you can secure $100,000 in sponsor dollars, which I would say is doing pretty good. There's not a ton of anglers out there that are securing $100,000 or more, but I would say that there's a lot of the true professional anglers for sure are doing it. But if you're looking just to jump into the scene, you're probably not going to go out and secure $100,000 in sponsors. But keep in mind, just because I said tournaments are $30,000 in entry fees, you're probably looking at more like $50,000 in entry fees plus expenses to fish those events. So, let's say an angler goes out and secures $50,000 in sponsor money, and they can win, let's say they win $40,000. So from a tournament perspective, they had $90,000 in winnings and sponsor dollars, and they put in about $50,000 to fish those events. Therefore, they come out $40,000 ahead from fishing tournaments. Now, that's not a great living. It is a positive income flow at that point, but it's not necessarily anything that's super fantastic. Now, the reality is that's only 6 weeks of your time, though, as well. It may be more than that if you pre-practice, but it's not like it's a full-time job at that point. So what that does is it gives you a lot of opportunity to do other things. You have a lot of time to continue to build your personal brand, to try to develop relationships with sponsors and do other things. So, you've got the sponsorship thing down, you've got the tournament thing down. And at that point, some of the other opportunities you have would be potentially guiding. I know a lot of anglers do guide trips. A lot of anglers do guide trips, not just necessarily say on their home lake or where they live, but they set up guide trips based on where they're going to be in the country around their tournament schedule. Generally speaking, I feel like you can charge a little bit extra as a professional level angler than your average guide, so you can make some money doing that. Now, I'm not saying you're doing 100 guide trips a year, but let's say you charge $500 or $600 and you get 10 guide trips. There's another $5,000 or $6,000 in your pocket. So guiding is one thing that some people do. Some anglers do a lot of it. Some anglers do 100 trips a year. Some anglers, like myself, do a handful of trips a year. Another thing to look into would be merchandise. There are some anglers out there that produce some really good merchandise, t-shirts, hats, things like that. They've got such a strong brand that they can push decent money and decent dollars through their merchandising. Now, this is something that I think, generally speaking, is more down the road for anglers who are much more established. You look at somebody like Brandon Polinick. He does a very good job with t-shirts. I don't know offhand what he makes doing it, but he does a very good job. He makes limited run t-shirts, puts them out there. They sell relatively quickly because he's got a fantastic brand. So that's something some anglers do. Other anglers have merchandise that's not necessarily based on their brand. It might be a clothing line that you would never even know is connected to that angler, but they're out there pushing it because they're so familiar with the fishing industry, they feel like they can put together a good product. Another thing would be just to sell product. So you move away from kind of your merchandise and you get into products. Some anglers sell different fishing baits. Like myself, I'm coming out with a few baits here in the next month or so, or hopefully within the couple of weeks. Again, I'm not expecting to make a pile of money, but I think it can generate a few dollars here and a few dollars there. Other anglers go out, I know of a bunch of anglers that are really good with their electronics. So they come out with little parts and little things that work for their electronics or to hold their electronics. There's a lot of the products that are out there on the market today were generated based on fishermen. Some fishermen take their bait ideas and they'll go and present it to a company, and at that point they can get royalty dollars on it, or they sell it outright and they get money from that standpoint. So it goes in hand with what I was saying before. The industry is small and everything plays. So, maybe you develop a bait and you go out and win a tournament, and that then allows you to take that bait and sell it or get royalties through a company that's willing to produce it. So, had you not been a tournament angler, you probably never would have been able to go and get in the door of that company that's going to produce the bait that you're going to generate some income off of. A lot of anglers out there are really good at social media. Social media is something where we've seen today you can be a content creator only and make a very good career out of it. I think a lot of the top anglers out there have really good platforms where they generate some good traffic flow and good dollars through their social media. And generally speaking, I feel like there's an emphasis for each angler in different areas. Some anglers are really good at Facebook and make that work. Some anglers are really good at Instagram and generate money that way. Some anglers are really good at YouTube and generate money that way. Some are getting into TikTok. The point here is social media is one of those things that builds a brand. It allows you to reach out into all these different areas, and it gives you the opportunity a lot of times to promote yourself. So if you want to guide, having a good social media following is a great way to have clients uh, find you and book trips. If you want to be really good at promoting your sponsor's products, having a good social media following is a great way to do that. So it can help your sponsor dollars. Like, it all ties together here. I can't really say anything more than that, but everything ties together. It's all one continuous moving puzzle where you're trying to move everything in one direction. A lot of anglers out there will do training or seminar work, or they'll go and work expo shows where maybe they give seminars at the expo shows. Some anglers will do like private lessons. Some anglers will put on like classes. There's a lot of different ways through the teaching slash seminar area where you can develop some revenue as well. And then a lot of anglers out there, ideally, what you do is you get to the point where you're generating enough money where maybe you can get some investments in other areas. A lot of anglers have rental properties. There's other things where anglers are just providing other services or generating a little bit of revenue through other means. Maybe it's just a matter of you're developing enough income flow where you can put it into your 401ks and different retirement funds, which is ultimately going to help you down the road. Because, one issue with the fishing world is we don't really have retirement plans. We don't have pension plans. We don't have health insurance. Those are all big expenses of anglers out there that you need to cover. But the reality here is, I just rattled off probably 7, 8, 10 different ways to generate some income. If you make a little bit of income in all those different areas, it turns out to be a decent career. You can make a good living at it without winning tournaments. The reality is there's a lot of ways to do it, and I would say most anglers out there specialize in one of those categories, and that helps pull from all the other categories. So you've got some anglers, like Jacob Wheeler, who's a phenomenal fisherman. He makes a pile of money through tournament winnings. But those tournament winnings, so that might be his main bucket, that draws then sponsor dollars, that draws social media following, increases that, which helps generate revenue from that standpoint, and then he can offer some of these other services. So the reality is, the better you fish, the easier it is to maybe establish yourself, but you have to be willing to work your butt off in those other areas to take advantage of your fishing success. Meaning, there's a lot of anglers out there that have gone and won tournaments and done very well for them from a fishing standpoint, but they haven't utilized, their time wisely, in my opinion, in the other areas to really take advantage of that tournament win to help generate revenue in all of these other streams. And that's not saying it's done wrong. It's just saying, that there was money that was left on the table that really could have helped with respect to their career. And it's just because they chose to go a different route. I got to tell you, I mean, I feel like at this point in my career, I wish I had put the effort in now that I am in my career early on in my career. I really look back and think, man, I wasted a lot of time because I could have been building my brand. How much further along would I have been now? And I'm very satisfied with the career that I have in the sport. I do well fishing tournaments. I've got great sponsor support. I've really been had my eyes opened up to how valuable YouTube is, and the YouTube channel is growing. I've got some baits coming out now. I do have some merchandise. I do offer virtual one-on-one lessons. I do lake breakdowns that I sell. All of that you can find in the video description if you want to see some of the other things that I offer. I do some guiding. I do a bunch of different things, and all of those things they just go together. You do well in tournaments, it helps you get some exposure. You have a video on YouTube that does great, it helps get you some exposure. All of that is kind of the same. It's all eyeballs helping to build the brand. So if you're looking to make a career in the sport, my suggestion to you would be to go all in, work your butt off, and try to have lots of different buckets that you're trying to grow at the same time. Don't put all your marbles into being the number one fisherman out there, because there's only one number one fisherman out there, meaning it's really difficult to do. It's really difficult to fish successfully, to continuously cash checks. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. I think most anglers who try find that they're not successful enough, and they're only around for 1, 2, 3 years. It's not an easy living to make, but you can do it. You can do it without being the best fisherman in the world by having all of these different revenue sources. So if you want to be in the fishing world, there's 100% you can do it. You got to be willing to work your butt off. You got to recognize that there's a lot of different ways to generate some revenue. I'm sure I missed things, guys. There's so many different ways people can generate revenue, but these are all ways that I've basically done it. These are ways that I know other anglers have done it, but I'm sure I've left some stuff out there that I've just forgotten about, I guess. But the reality is, yes, you can do it. I know you can do it, but you got to work your butt off to do it. But it's well worth it. I have no regrets leaving my corporate financial gig to fish full time and to live the life that I want to live. I would not trade this for the world. I am a much, much happier person following, what I love to do. I mean, this is what I feel like I was made to do, was to be in the fishing world. So anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate all of you, all of the support that you guys have given me. Hopefully this answers the questions that I've received. I'll probably get some follow-up questions regarding this. But the reality is, it's a great career if you're willing to put in the time. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit the like button. Stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.